First and foremost, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. I will try to keep my talk relevant to the point and actionable. Just a very quick introduction about me in addition to what has been said. So many of you might know me from YouTube. I'm a finance YouTuber. I speak a lot about investing properly, investing in different asset classes, growing your wealth. One of the key challenges that we usually face, especially when we have recently started earning or if we are in college, is that the entire investing space becomes really problematic for us, right? That we would not know where to start. Should we go and invest in mutual funds? Should we go and purchase some stocks? Should we go and invest in cryptocurrencies? So it's a very complex space, and the entire investing thought process, it overwhelms us. So through this talk, what I would like to illustrate, there are two broad areas that I would want to talk about. One is that there are some key lessons that I've learned along the way in terms of the type of professions that I've pursued in my life. I will talk briefly about it through stories. And then subsequently, I will relate it to the investment philosophy and some steps that you can take, the small steps that you can take in terms of executing and generating results for yourself. So that's the broad agenda. And let me start my story by talking about my 1.5-year-old son, Zain. You might have just heard him cry. So he's 1.5-year-old. And one of the key things that I'm trying to sort of push him towards would be that I would want him to develop good habits, right? Why is that? Because every parents want their son or daughter to pick up good habits. And that is something that all of us stress on our kids right from a very young age, right? Now, if we take a step back and try to imagine that, hey, what do habits do? So habits essentially are systems or processes that allow you to achieve certain things in a more rigid structure, right? Mouthful, but let me try to illustrate these points by narrating a few key stories from my life. So the first story starts when I was around 10-year-old and I started my career. So that was when I started my career. So what was I doing? So I was essentially a sportsman and I used to play cricket professionally. So I was playing for under 14 Madhya Pradesh cricket team. So that is the state to which I belong. And why do I call it a profession? Because I was getting paid to do it, right? So I started my career so I started training when I was 10. And by the time I was 13, I was playing cricket semi-professionally at a state level. Now, what is the system that I developed, right? Because as a 13-year-old kid, most of us would be spending time at a school, right? So we would be spending a lot of time in schools, probably coachings. And if you're playing professional sport at that stage, so it meant that, hey, every day I had to practice at least 4 to 5 hours on the field in the morning, in the evening. And that also meant that I was left with very little time to actually go and do the traditional type of stuff that kids my age were doing, be it completing your homework on time or be it being a part of the classroom system. So I used to miss like half my school year because of that. So what was I doing, right? So I mean, it was important for me because of course, like my parents would get really worried that, you know what, if you keep on playing cricket, you're probably going to miss the entire schooling system and probably you would end up being a really bad student, right? On the flip side, I really wanted to play cricket. So what was the system, right? So the system now in the hindsight, I can think and call that system as 80-20, 80-20 rule. And that was the habit or system or the small step that I took. Now 80-20, so I've worked in consulting, I've worked with major management consulting firms. So that system at major consulting firms like BCG, Bain, McKinsey, it is called as 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule simply says that in order to generate 80% of the results, you need to put in only 20% of the efforts, right? So 80% results can be generated just by 20% efforts. And that is what you should focus on. And that is precisely what I ended up doing in the hindsight as a kid when I was a cricketer. That I used to have a system that, hey, get up at 6, study for 2 hours, go to school, come back, play cricket all day, right? So I just used to get those 2 hours to study and I tried my level best to compile everything and study more effectively in that system. This brings me to another sort of related point. Many of you might have heard Elon Musk giving this quote, and I'm paraphrasing. So he literally says that, hey, if you give yourself 6 days to clean your house will get clean in 6 days. Similarly, if you give yourself 6 hours to clean the house, your house will again get clean in 6 hours. So it really comes down to having that 80-20 principle where you are giving yourself timelines where you are just focusing on the most important 20% of the things to generate 80% efforts. And my first story concludes from that point, that in order for me to balance both these things out, being a okay student plus being a professional cricketer growing up, I had to balance this, and the system that allowed me to cultivate was 80-20 principle. Which brings me to the second story. So unfortunately, I could not make it as a cricketer, and I had an ACL, bunch of different things. But subsequently, I moved on to college, right? Did interesting things. And right after college, my first traditional job was with a non-profit organization, and I was teaching underprivileged kids English, right? So I was teaching, and I was essentially going across different communities, and I was working with a education focused non-profit organization. It was a very small organization. Now, I was like in the real world, and again, my parents started worrying that, hey, you're working with a non-profit, you're making a salary of 10,000 INR, not a very good salary, and what would you do, right? You are very worried for your future. By that time, I had already written GMAT, I had a 770 on the GMAT, like good score. So what I did was, so I started developing a system of which now I can call it parallel income streams, right? So the system was very simple that, hey, I'm doing my core non-profit work, I'm making 10,000 rupees. And on the sidelines, because I had a 770 GMAT score, I started a private GMAT coaching online system, right? So that was a parallel income stream. Every month I used to get like one client, and I used to make 50-60,000 rupees from it. So if I combine both the salaries, I was getting to pursue my passion, which was non-profit, combined it with a parallel income stream that I had built. That gave me like 60-70,000. Parents happy, I'm happy. System was working, great, awesome. Then I went to INSEAD Business School, right? And then along the way, I did like a bunch of other different work, but I always kept at the fact that, hey, I need to sort of create parallel income streams. That's the system that I started believing. Once I graduated from INSEAD, I ended up working with a major consulting firm in Singapore, was making great money, a lot of good things. But like it happens with many of us, that when we get working in a corporate job, what is the primary thing that we struggle with? We struggle with time, right? So that was the primary thing that even I was struggling at, that yes, money is great, everything is great, life is great. But the issue is that I'm not getting any time. That made me realize that in order to be happy in life, you need to be both money rich and time rich, right? So I started reading about passive income streams, that, hey, how can you make money while you sleep? What are some of the key ideas, things that you can execute that can allow you to be time rich and money rich both, right? So that was the game plan. That was the system to which I was trying to move. So along with doing my management consulting job, I started exploring multiple ideas. For example, I started developing a platform called as Cases Over Coffee. Now, Cases Over Coffee is one of the biggest management consulting platform. We train people to get into BCG, Bain, McKinsey at a very affordable price. We are competing with like literally European companies that charge 100x for this type of services that we offer, and we are doing it at a very low price through a subscription-based model. So that's one of the startups in which I have invested. Now, over time, I've ended up investing in different bunch of startups, again, which promotes like passive learning. Now, this brings me to the last phase of my life, which is around what type of system am I trying to develop now? Because I have invested in a bunch of startups, passive money, great. But every time I try to start a new business, what it ends up doing, it ends up eating a lot of my time, because building from 0 to 1, any type of startup, it's super difficult, right? So it requires a lot of time. So now I'm trying to move towards a system which is called as hands-off system of building businesses, where I can delegate a lot of work to people who are working with me. That does not mean that I'm not involved, but I'm trying to figure out like a way where if my per hour cost or price that I know is X, and if I can delegate it less than X, then I go and delegate that work. So that is the type of system that I'm trying to master. Few key takeaways from these 4 stories is very simple, that you need to be efficient. You need to have some kind of system going, some kind of system that you believe in that particular phase of your life, right? Right from me being a cricketer when I was very young, now to being an entrepreneur investor, I have different systems that are going on, and these systems allow you to explore life in a more holistic manner. That is my fundamental understanding. Now you might ask me that, okay, great, awesome, all these systems work for you. Tell us like what system we absolutely need to develop and how to do it. Can you guide us like in terms of developing that initial system, right? In terms of money creation. So first and foremost, one important system that all of us need to develop, absolutely need to develop, is that we need to develop a system to invest our money. Now, why? Because, so let me give you a couple of examples here, right? So first and foremost, all of us will be making money, whether we make 1,000 rupees or whether we make 10,000 rupees or 1 lakh or 2 lakh. That's secondary. Whatever money you're making, you will have to invest it, right? Why do you need to invest it? Because you will say that, okay, I'm making like 100 rupees, I'll keep it in my pocket. The issue is that we need to invest that money because the money loses value every single year, right? Right now, we are living in a very high inflation environment. Some year it loses more value, some year it loses less value. But the point is that the money loses value, especially in a country like India. To help you contextualize this, imagine that you have 100 rupees saved in your bank account, in your savings account, be it SBI, be it HDFC Bank. You have that 100 rupee lying in your bank account. You are getting a rate of return of 2%, 2 to 2.5%, 3% as your savings deposit. The inflation rate in India is currently 6.5%. So you are in real terms losing 4.5%, 4.5%, right? So that 100 rupees that you have kept in your bank account, it will become for sure 96 rupees by next year in real terms, right? And that is precisely the reason why you need to invest. Now, when I share that simple piece of fact or data with people, they get bothered. They start fretting about the fact that, you know what, just tell us, should I just go and invest in Dogecoin, or should I just go and invest in like this particular fancy stuff that I've just heard about? Should I do it? Because I am a maximalist. I need maximum return for my money. Because, okay, on the left-hand side of the equation, I was just making like 4% return on it, but now I need to make like 100% return on it, right? So the point is that you're not trying to develop a system by this type of a thought process. The system should be this, and this is where I would try to conclude my talk. That first and foremost, if you're looking to build wealth over time, it's a slow process. You get rich slow. You don't get rich fast. That is point one. Point two is that you need to have a system of earning money. You need to have a system of investing money. If you're looking to develop and cultivate a system for investing money, then the thought that I would leave you with is this. First and foremost, please invest. That is literally half the battle won, that you need to invest. Number two, please invest. Start your investing journey by investing in safe assets. Three, don't be a maximalist. Maximalist means that, hey, either it's going to be 100% return for me or no return for me, right? So please don't do that, because there is something called as rule of 72. So rule of 72 means that take 72, divide it by the return that you are making. For example, if you're making FD returns, then FD returns are 72 by 6, right? So it takes you 12 years to double your money, right? So 72 divided by 6, that is 12. So it takes 12 years to double your money in a fixed deposit. Now, if you just go and invest in index funds, right, which is Nifty, right, in India, then that is 72 divided by 12 to 15%, right? So that is the Nifty return historically. So it takes you 4.5%, 4.5 years to double your money, right? So essentially what I'm trying to tell you is that if you are able to grow your money at a 15% sensible rate, then your money doubles every 4.5 years, and you automatically become rich by using a simple system. So in order to become rich, or in order to generate wealth, create systems, create good habits, invest, and best of luck, right? That's what I would leave you with. Thank you so much. And that's pretty much it from my side.